What does it take for a country with zero natural resources, no farmland, and barely 700 square kilometers of land to rise and become the envy of an entire continent? Singapore has already done the impossible once. Now, as the world enters a new era of technology, trade, and transformation, this small island city-state is positioning itself to do something even more extraordinary. While giants like China, India, and Japan fight for dominance, Singapore is playing an entirely different game. A smarter game, a quieter game, and it is winning. From artificial intelligence and finance to biotech and diplomacy, Singapore is building the infrastructure of tomorrow, while others are still debating yesterday. By 2030, the world may wake up and realize that the real powerhouse of Asia was never the loudest or the largest. It was the most strategic. So let us break down exactly why Singapore might just dominate Asia by 2030, point by point. Point 1. Financial capital of Asia. Singapore is already one of the top 4 financial centers in the entire world, sitting comfortably alongside New York, London, and Hong Kong. But what makes this remarkable is the trajectory. As Hong Kong faces continued political pressure and uncertainty, global banks, hedge funds, and family offices are quietly shifting their regional headquarters to Singapore. In 2023 alone, over 10,000 millionaires relocated to Singapore, more than any other country on Earth. The monetary authority of Singapore is known for being firm, fair, and forward-thinking, a combination that builds extraordinary trust. Singapore's financial system is designed to attract the best capital in the world while keeping corruption virtually non-existent. By 2030, Singapore is projected to manage over $5 trillion in assets. Yes, $5 trillion. That is not just financial strength, that is financial dominance. When the money of Asia decides where to live, it is choosing Singapore, and that choice has enormous consequences for everything else on this list. Point 2. The world's most business-friendly environment. You can register a company in Singapore in under 1 day. Let that sink in. While most countries drown entrepreneurs in paperwork, red tape, and bureaucratic delay, Singapore has engineered a system that welcomes business with open arms and a clear runway. The World Bank has ranked Singapore among the top nations on Earth for ease of doing business for over 2 decades in a row. Its tax structure is lean. Corporate tax sits at a flat 17%, and there is zero capital gains tax. For startups, for multinational corporations, and for investors, this is a dream environment. Singapore's government actively works as a partner to businesses, not an obstacle. Special economic incentives, research and development grants, and innovation hubs make it the preferred launchpad for companies wanting to access all of Southeast Asia and beyond. By 2030, as global companies restructure their Asian operations post-pandemic, Singapore will be the front door through which serious business enters the region. This is not just an advantage, it is a structural moat that will only grow wider. Point 3. Artificial intelligence and tech ambition. Singapore is not waiting for the AI revolution. It is funding it, building it, and attracting the world's best minds to make it happen on its soil. The Singapore government has committed billions of dollars to its national artificial intelligence strategy, with a bold vision to become Asia's leading AI-powered economy by 2030. Major tech giants including Google, Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon have all established significant AI research and data infrastructure operations in Singapore. The country is training its workforce through SkillsFuture, a national program that reskills citizens for the digital economy at a speed few governments can match. Singapore is also home to some of the most advanced smart city infrastructure on the planet, from autonomous vehicles to AI-powered urban planning systems. What makes Singapore's tech push different from others is execution. They do not just announce strategies, they build them, deploy them, measure them, refine them. By 2030, Singapore's AI ecosystem could rival Silicon Valley in influence, and it will do so with precision, not noise.
Point 4. Geopolitical neutrality as a superpower. In a world torn between the United States and China, Singapore has mastered the art of being everyone's friend without being anyone's puppet. This is not weakness. This is a form of geopolitical genius. Singapore maintains deep strategic relationships with Washington, while simultaneously being one of China's most trusted trade and investment partners. It hosts American naval facilities. It signs free trade agreements with Beijing. It talks to everyone. This neutrality makes Singapore the preferred venue for high-stakes global negotiations, diplomatic summits, and back-channel conversations between rival powers. You may remember that the historic summit between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un was held in Singapore. That was no accident. Nations choose Singapore for these moments because it is trusted by all sides. As U.S.-China tensions continue to define the shape of Asia, Singapore's position as the Switzerland of the East becomes not just valuable, it becomes irreplaceable. By 2030, this diplomatic standing could translate into enormous political and economic leverage across the entire region.
Point 5. World-class education and human capital. Singapore's two flagship universities, the National University of Singapore and Nanyang Technological University, are consistently ranked among the top 15 universities in the entire world. This is a nation of just under 6 million people producing globally competitive scholars, engineers, policymakers, and entrepreneurs. But it goes deeper than universities. Singapore's primary and secondary school system is considered one of the most rigorous and effective on the planet. The Program for International Student Assessment, known as PISA, has ranked Singapore students #1 in the world in mathematics, science, and reading multiple times. The government invests heavily in education as a national strategy, understanding that in a knowledge economy, the mind is the most valuable natural resource. Singapore does not have oil. It does not have vast farmland. Its people are its wealth, and it protects and cultivates that wealth with extraordinary care. By 2030, this pipeline of educated, adaptable, globally connected talent will be the engine driving every other advantage Singapore possesses.
Point 6. Southeast Asia's startup and VC hub. Southeast Asia is home to nearly 700 million people and one of the fastest-growing consumer markets on Earth. And the beating heart of investment into this region is Singapore. Nearly 75% of all venture capital flowing into Southeast Asia is channeled through Singapore. The city is home to hundreds of venture capital firms, accelerators, and innovation labs. It has produced multiple billion-dollar companies known as unicorns, including Grab, Sea Limited, and Lazada. The government actively co-invests in startups through agencies like Enterprise Singapore and Temasek Holdings, blending public and private capital in ways few countries dare to attempt. The startup ecosystem is diverse, multilingual, and deeply connected to the rest of Asia and beyond. Founders from Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines, and India all come to Singapore to scale their companies and access global capital. By 2030, as Southeast Asia's digital economy is projected to reach over $1 trillion, Singapore will be the control tower coordinating the region's most transformative economic activity.
Point 7. Port and logistics supremacy. The Port of Singapore is the second busiest in the world by cargo tonnage and the busiest in terms of container shipping connectivity. Over 130,000 vessels pass through the Strait of Malacca every single year, and Singapore sits right at the pinch point of this extraordinary trade corridor. About 1/3 of the world's total trade passes through these waters. Singapore's port infrastructure is among the most technologically advanced on Earth, with automated cranes, AI-driven logistics systems, and a seamless integration between sea, air, and road freight. The Changi Airport, consistently rated the world's best, handles over 60 million passengers annually and is a critical air freight hub for the entire region. Singapore is already building the Tuas megaport, which when completed will be the largest fully automated port in the world, capable of handling 65 million containers per year.
By 2030, Singapore's logistics infrastructure will make it not just a city or a country, but the essential junction point through which Asia's entire economic circulatory system flows. Point 8. Healthcare and biomedical innovation. Singapore is quietly becoming one of the most important biomedical research and healthcare innovation hubs in the world. The Biopolis, a dedicated science and biotech cluster in Singapore, houses over 50 global pharmaceutical and biotech companies, including giants like Pfizer, Novartis, and GlaxoSmithKline. Singapore was one of the fastest countries in the world to vaccinate its population during the COVID-19 pandemic, achieving over 80% full vaccination within months, a testament to its healthcare execution capacity. The country spends heavily on medical research, genomics, and precision medicine. It is developing capabilities in cancer treatment, rare disease therapy, and AI-driven diagnostics that position it as Asia's go-to destination for cutting-edge medical care. Medical tourism to Singapore continues to grow, attracting wealthy patients from across Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, and beyond, who trust Singapore's healthcare quality above all others in the region. By 2030, Singapore's biomedical sector is projected to be a multi-hundred-billion-dollar pillar of its national economy, making health not just a social priority, but a major driver of dominance. Point 9. Climate resilience and green economy leadership. While many nations are still debating climate commitments on paper, Singapore is building a green economy with its usual determination and precision. Singapore has introduced a carbon tax, one of the first countries in Asia to do so, and it is steadily raising it year by year to drive serious decarbonization. The country is investing massively in solar energy, covering rooftops, reservoirs, and offshore waters with panels to compensate for its lack of land and wind resources. Singapore is also positioning itself as Asia's leading green finance hub, channeling billions into sustainable bonds, ESG funds, and climate technology investments. Its Green Plan 2030 outlines concrete, measurable targets across every sector of the economy. As global corporations are increasingly required by investors and regulators to demonstrate environmental responsibility, they want to be headquartered in a city that walks the talk. Singapore gives them that credibility. By 2030, the green economy will be a multi-trillion-dollar global market, and Singapore is placing its bets early, boldly, and strategically, as it always does. Point 10. Political stability and institutional trust. Perhaps the most underrated reason Singapore will dominate Asia by 2030 is something you cannot see on a balance sheet: trust. Singapore has one of the most stable, consistent, and corruption-free governments in the world. Transparency International consistently ranks it among the top 5 least corrupt countries on Earth. Its legal system is independent, its institutions are strong, and its policies are long-term in nature, designed not for the next election cycle, but for the next generation. This stability is magnetic. When businesses, investors, and talented people look for a place to plant their roots in Asia, they need to know the rules will not change overnight, that contracts will be honored, and that the government will not suddenly seize their assets or shift the playing field. Singapore gives them that certainty in a region where political volatility is often the norm. As democracy faces pressure across many Asian nations and geopolitical risk rises, Singapore's institutional solidity becomes an increasingly rare and precious commodity. By 2030, that trust will be worth more than any other asset the island possesses.
So there you have it. 10 powerful reasons why Singapore, this tiny, resourceless island at the tip of the Malay Peninsula, is not just surviving in Asia, it is positioning itself to lead it. From finance and artificial intelligence to green energy, biotech, and geopolitical wisdom, Singapore is executing on every dimension simultaneously, and it does so with a quiet confidence that does not need to shout. The lesson Singapore teaches the world is profound. Size does not determine destiny. Resources do not determine results. Vision, execution, and relentless intelligent effort, these are the things that determine which nations rise. Singapore has been proving this since its independence in 1965, and it is not slowing down. As Asia becomes the defining economic theater of the 21st century,
the world would be wise to watch this small island very, very carefully. Because by 2030, we may all look back and realize that the giant of Asia was never the biggest country in the room. It was the smartest one, and it had a plan all along. Thank you for watching. And if this changed the way you see the world, make sure you share it.